the difference in the pressure on Jackie versus the pressure on Viper was completely different. Here it is. Champion Select powered by Omen HyperX.
It's tough. That second game was a complete and utter blowout. The one saving grace is that we are playing Fearless. Those champions will no longer be available. Frees up some of the mental space of not having to go into the same thing again.
I mean, the Vi and Akali duo got 30 kills, 3 deaths, and 30 assists combined. That is, I don't know if I've ever seen that in like an LPL versus LCK #1 seed. That's usually like you're on a completely different level. It feels like a stomp of almost historic proportions.
Yeah, the only performance I can think of, we did have Callisto, was it 17-2? Recently, that was him individually in the series against Hanwha Live. And then we had Pace last year at MSI, which I'm pretty sure he set the record for international kills. I think it was 20, I want to say 22? Maybe ended up with a little bit more. But like,
I remember this like Peanut Lee Sin game from years ago where he got like 14 kills back when minor regions were still around. This is he just got like 16 kills against the LPL #1. That is not what I was expecting to see coming into this event. And it is going to be tough. We can catch up with the bans here. Caitlyn, Talia, and Nar banned out here by TES, who is back on the blue side. And we're going to see HLE banning out the Skarner, the Nidalee, as well as the Callista. Quite a bit of focus on the ADs so far in this series. Varus, Ashe obviously played last game. Callista banned out, Caitlyn banned out. In game #1, we saw the MF as well as the Ezreal. So we are working down the tier list here a little bit.
We'll have to see what the prioritization is going to be. 369, he gets the prio pick.
Did we just get the Camille answer, you think?
That is, Camille Galio is the no-brainer. Yeah.
I just love Camille as an answer. Zeus is a fantastic Camille. And I do think it is such a tough matchup for Ambessa. So it just feels like it fits for what HLE want to do.
Yeah, I don't mind the priority pick here. I think that 369 has been, particularly today, the best performing member individually. He was the only one where there were glimmers of hope, right? With the Renekton team fight performance. Peanut, very different style from the last champion that he got, but another champion that he absolutely excels on. Birdie, my guess is going to be towards AD carry. We'll see if they actually do want to prioritize pick this Camille or whether they're going to save it. They do, of course, run the risk of it getting banned if you do save it up to the second rotation.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the follow-up is going to be. I think the Galio prio also skyrockets, as it's going to be the Jhin here for Viper. So AD carry, as again, the Varus and Ashe both have been gone. Jhin is one of our other lane-dominant AD carries, and the Jhin Maokai combination specifically is one that we have seen many times. Just works well, the two long-range ults to set up kills, particularly in early skirmishes.
Exactly, and I do always feel like it works just so well with dive in general, right? You just create so much chaos. Maokai ult comes down, you kind of have to, try to stack up to try to back off, but the Jhin ult is slowing you, the rest of the team is piling in. Will be Pantheon here, which could be potentially swapped around to a few different lanes. It could be Crisp, it could be Kanavi. I'm kind of expecting it to be the jungle pick for now, though. And this is a very aggressive top side here, super skirmish heavy. And the Pantheon could potentially throw a wrench in the gears of any sort of kind of aggressive carry versus carry match up top. So we'll see if they can find it. We haven't seen a lot of success from Aurora thus far this tournament. And Creme, it's do or die now.
Whereas the second game was two dive comps basically just bashing their head into each other, with Hanwha Live's skull being a lot more resistant than that of TES.
They wore their helmet.
Yeah, they did. Is going to be a little bit different here. I was actually wondering whether Hanwha Live was going to prioritize picking another disengaged champion. Obviously, with the Maokai and the Jhin, your kite back and re-engage potential is extremely strong. And TES are very clearly committing to heavy, short-range dive. Really good backline threats, but there are a lot of champions that can kind of shut down that style. I'm wondering if we're going to see something like the Bromban. He loves playing into that style of composition. Poppy is another, I can't believe I haven't mentioned it yet. Obviously one of the Light's favorites, and just in general an incredible champion, particularly into Ambessa, who obviously dashes on everything, but even for the Pantheon can be really, really annoying to play into.
Yep, can be pretty difficult. Lulu, we've seen much more on the ban page than actually in-game. Has been catching a lot of bans, especially as we get deeper into the series. Leona will be adding to the list as well. Definitely some very good merc value for TES this game, as there's a lot of CC over on the HLE side already, and you kind of have this mixed magic top side with the Maokai as well as the Jacks. Tristana, the final ban here, knowing that there is quite a bit of AP, and generally with Jhin, you need another high, consistent DPS champion to go paired alongside that. And because you already have Jax and Maokai on that top side, generally you wouldn't really want to have an AP pairing there. Yes, that can fit the bill, but you can get a lot of value out of magic resistance in those kind of cases.
It's also one of the best champions in that scenario. Azir is already taken away, right? Is one of the best mid lane threats as when it comes to the consistent DPS. Is what is going to be...
Cassio as well, but Cassio is so kind of niche, I feel like. And it's going to be Vladimir. We've seen Zeus bring this. Are they going to do some real cooking, or is this going to be just Vlad mid? It feels like it's going to be Vlad mid.
It feels more likely for sure.
Yeah, because that would be so hard to lane into Ambessa. So Vladimir being brought out by Zeus previously a couple times. This kind of Swifties rush with Ghost Flash has become a lot more popular. We obviously, because of competitive play, we're seeing TP every time. But I do wonder, if Zeka would go for it. One thing I will say is that Vladimir in these kind of matchups, you're going to be getting pushed in pretty heavily.
Yes.
And so you do lose prio around mid. JackeyLove going to be locking in the Corki. So there is potential for, if you can get pushed mid, Creme and Kanavi teaming up, trying to get things done on the map. Of course, still a possibility of a flex. We're waiting for that 5th and final pick here from TES.
Does make the team fighting from Hanwha Life completely disgusting. It is, again, a lot of short-range champions on the side of TES. As Corki Bard, I do always love to see, not
Bard
only do you
Jhin.
pick Bard into Jhin, but you also pick it away as the crank, a consideration here, and it does
just
get locked in.
It was an insta-lock of the Blitzcrank here from Delight. Man, I will say, Magic Resist and Mark Tread's value is insane for TES. This is very heavily AP over on the other side. Of course, Viper is going to bring some physical damage. Jax a little bit as well, but a lot of magic damage being available there. And whoever you'll be fighting in the side lane for 369, things like Hexdrinker can become value. Merc Treads are obviously incredibly high value. Blitz and Bard, two of the kind of like highest risk, high risk reward supports in the game that I just love to watch. If you are on point with them, you can be the difference in a game like this, but a couple wrong moves and you can be the reason that your team is falling flat.
It's so interesting to me that the Hanwha Life read is that Vlad is so strong that you can just pick him in 2 roles and be completely happy. Right, as you highlight, I do think a lack of mid-prio is generally a lot more debilitating for a team than the lack of top lane prio, particularly when you're playing into Bard and the Pantheon, both of which have an insane amount of early roaming pressure, have a lot of potential to catch people off guard, either peanut in his own jungle or make their impact on the map known. When it comes to the team fighting, though, I think Hanwha Life are again going to be feeling very confident. I do think that Delight, not an engage support, but on a pick champion, is going to fundamentally change how they play. But Hanwha Life's objective control around Maokai and Peanut's objective control around the Maokai is...
Oh, that is cool.
I know, yeah, that's... I forgot when that was introduced to the fan sign meta, but it's been a welcome development.
Sometimes
you have them with both players' hands.
Oh, like shaking hands or something? Yeah. That's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie.
Shaking their fists.
Yeah, shaking their fists at each other, as these two teams have been doing thus far. Vladimir, yes, you are going to be getting pushed in, but if you get towards those late game stages, this can be a team fight beast, especially against a relatively low range composition that just has the tendency to get stacked up. You can get AoE down in a hurry. You gotta love it. The LCK faithful here in LOL Park, letting their chants be heard as we are heading into game number 3 here, semifinal, excuse me, at First Stand 2025. As we are looking for which team will get to face off against K-Corp tomorrow.
Whenever you see Blitzcrank, you're always going to be wondering, are there going to be any level 1 shenanigans? Doesn't look like that is going to be the case just yet. And as mentioned, do think that these two team comps both have a very clear plan. For TES, it's all about the backline access. Can we get Aurora, I say that, Delight is going to go for just a blind grab. But can we get Aurora and Ambessa onto the enemy carries? And I do think that target selection can be quite tough because Vladimir is notoriously hard to lock down due to his pull. And any botched engage can really backfire as he's able to kind of sustain back up and get a lot of value out of his ult. Viper is going to have to really play a careful game. But between the Jax, the Vladimir, and the Maokai, I do think the tools are there for Hanwha. it's the early and mid game where I do really worry for them, where I think where TES their biggest strength lies. Because I think their early spikes are way stronger, their 2v2s are way better, and the amount of pressure that they should have both in terms of prio and lane, as well as global pressure through the Bard as well as the Pantheon, is going to be something that Hanwha Life, I think, should have a tough time dealing with.
I really agree, but the hook just narrowly backstepped there by Jackie. That could have been problematic for him. But at the same time, you know, even if they create an early advantage, we have to see, can they turn that into a teamfight win? Early heal is going to force the flash there from Viper. Surprised he didn't just cleanse if that actually did elect to land, but decides, you know what, I'll trade out the flash. I'll try to keep my health high here. Crisp and Jackie putting on the pressure as Zeus on top side does have full control over this wave, and it's going to be pushing them in. You can see that Peanut is behind that bot lane, knowing that there is some potential, especially with Pantheon on the other side, of a cheeky early gank. Creme, though, you know, getting the push here onto Zeka. It's mostly just about this empowered Q that you really cannot mess with. You have to force them to use it on minions. It feels a lot less when you use it on minions, and of course you cannot win a trade if you do accept that. That ward, though, in Pixel spots them walking in. They have full knowledge now, and Peanut can just kind of reverse clear back up towards topside. They play safe. They have full information.
Actually, good adaptation there by Peanut. I'm pretty sure he started his own Raptors and then path towards the bot side of the map. So knowing that his bot lane was always going to get pushed in, do think that you really have to respect the early damage that comes through from the Bard and not going to suffer for it.
And look at Kanavi now. He's quite a bit behind the pace. You know, it is going to be Peanut already on his 5th camp, where Kanavi has spent all this time looking for a gank towards bot. The Pixel Ward does stifle that. The smart path does interrupt that as well from Peanut. And he's going to be behind quite a bit on tempo as 369 trying to get the grass proc, but going to be traded back here by Zeus. Misses the cannon, unfortunately for him, so -1s in chat, but Zeus having wave control here and is going to have to be careful now that Kanavi could be up towards this top side. But again, look at the ward. Deep ward there in the river. Always being aware of where Kanavi could be, and he's going to be spotted by this once again.
Kanavi, still 2 camps that need to be cleared. This is exactly what we talked about. Kanavi will get spotted, though.
A level 2, because the Bard is just level 2, but if he actually skilled E, they could look for an angle here, and it looks like he must have, just based on the positioning.
We do see,
they know it, so just backs off. More wasted time.
Not sure about where the Bard is, but they do spot Kanavi there. So not going to end up working out here early on. Wave state did feel a little bit awkward for Zeus. Zeka, yeah, you mentioned the second activation of the Q there. I've seen Vlad's ghost for that one. You know, it's like, it's worth.
It feels good. Zeus taking a bit of a bad trade there, but as soon as the cooldowns are used, very long cooldowns there for Ambessa early on, and they are still up on the top side.
He must have known, right? Like, because there he goes in, actually gets 369 with his use of the skills to push in the wave, and then as a result, still backs off immediately, very clearly respecting the potential for a gank from that bot or jungle.
Something that we didn't actually touch on, so it is Zeka playing the Ghost Flash. Will he do the Swifties Rush kind of as I was expecting? Nope, instead it's going to be CDR boots here early on. But he is playing Ghost Flash, that means no TP, so they are going to be down the 1 teleport. And Creme was able to get back from base, interrupt the base there from Zeka. But the wave is going to slowly push in towards Zeka, so he's really not going to lose much at all. Just now, the CS actually evening out there in the mid lane. So, you know, despite the fact that teleport was spent, Zeka has got to be really happy about his position in lane. I think he pushed a lot faster than Creme was expecting. Just using the pool there to clear out the minions and made a big difference.
And Hanwha actually using the TP there from Zeus to catch that bot wave, because Viper did go for a base there, was halfway towards the top lane. Should be able to then shove that out without too much issues as 30 seconds undergrubbed. The light is roaming, but hasn't really found anything yet. The Niter support able to make an impact. But for really both Bard and Blitz, going in early, being first to an objective, and then setting up either the vision trap or at least making sure that you have the knowledge of where your opponents are is such a big deal.
I mean, Blitz when you can see him and Blitz when you can't are 2 different champions, right? It is just so hard at the professional level to actually nail a hook when you're on vision. But at the same time, if they're trying to check in and they have no idea where you are, it is so difficult to play around that. You're not going to be soling up the first dragon here down on that bottom side. Well, TES will move in towards the grubs. Going to be able to grab these as it looks like it will just be that trade. You can see Zeus fighting with 369, does have a nice little XP advantage. And Zeka, every level you get is just going to feel better and better. It's so important getting experience on this champion. You know, getting towards 9, massive spike is the max rank Q, and then hitting 13 for that max rank E. Also really, really big. And as you get more and more CDR in, this champion starts to become a bit of a brick wall in lane where all of a sudden you can't chip him out, you can't push him back.
The rest will just get shrugged off. I do think Creme for the foreseeable future should be able to maintain a decent level of prio. And I also like that TES prioritized the grubs here. I do think that for them, given the amount of sideline pressure that they have with both the Pantheon as well as the Bard, not even purely in the 1v1 matchups, because obviously Jax and Vladimir both are side lane demons, but having the ability to get to a side lane first is always going to be powerful for them. So having the threat of that by picking up those grubs is definitely good.
It's also why it's so important for HLE that Zeus is doing well so far, right? Because they have to have someone who can actually withstand that pressure, who can answer that. Did go for the early cloth armor and likely just going to be working in towards Tabbies. You know it is going to be Ambessa as well as the Pantheon. So his job is not really to be the hero in this game. It's just kind of withstand the pressure that is being put on. Nice sidestep there from Viper. Dodges the Foss bomb, but the big one will connect. And now Peanut trying to get up here and potentially be involved. Can Delight find the angle for the hook? He's going to find it, and in comes the Nature's Wrath. They're flashing forward. Peanut finds him, and he's getting locked down. Viper wants the kill, and he's going to get it. The 4 shots for first blood. The ulti going to get popped up as well. Kanavi is here now trying to get a kill back onto Delight. Is going to be able to knock one down. Can they get the Bard out? They cannot do it. It is just the one kill back here from TES. But it's a great engage from Delight, and I feel like we have said that time and time again this series. Zeka does pop the Hemoplague there, just using it defensively, knowing that Creme could have gone forward with the ult. He was getting low, but now with the empowered Q, he's stepping up, and Creme is running out of mana. Creme doesn't have that TP just yet, so Zeka survives, gets prio.
And the magical journey gets rudely interrupted there as even
How could they?
I know, it's so rude. Even the arrival of Kanavi, not quite in the nick of time. And it goes back again. The summons were available for Jackie. You got to flash that hook. If they flash the hook, I think, particularly with Corki, a champion that does have a good amount with the W built-in safety. The moment that it happens, it also means that the knockback follows, an immediate follow-up from Peanut with great timing there on his lane gank on the Maokai. And because of that, they didn't know if Kanavi is here a second earlier. I think at the very least Crisp gets out, right? You trade 1 for 1, it doesn't feel as bad. Yeah, you still give up the sums, but the fact that Viper gets a kill, you invest double bot lane summoners, and the play still works out, that's rough.
Yeah, really, really rough. And it was just well played, you know, by the HLE squad to actually keep Crisp away from the wall so he can magical journey out. He gets hit by the Deadly Flourish, then off that route, you get Bramble smashed away. Then with his dying breath, the light flashes in and actually knocks him up. Zeus trying to survive here under the tower. Does have to be a bit careful. The ulti is available for 369, and there's no Counter-Strike. Will he try to press for a dive? Would be risky, but the series has not been going their way, and sometimes that's when players do get a little bit antsy.
Kanavi did pick up the kill.
Delight finds the hook, and there's the Counter-Strike, but he's not in tower range critically. Chris will be okay, does get the stun on the wall. Peanut in the area, and the Jhin is coming down now. They're going to try to look for the dive here onto Zeus. Zeus Counter-Strikes out, and he flashes away from the public execution. There's a flash to follow, though. Kanavi needs to actually block the shots, but he can't do it. Peanut gets a kill back as he locked down one. Jhin still has the bullet remaining. Kanavi tanks it right to the face. JackeyLove, though, doing what he can. Knocks down 1 kill. Chris surviving with almost no health. The light is incredibly low, but Viper's in the area, and I don't know if they have the health to go for the dive. They're going to try to go back in. There's the stun. There's the cleanse to answer. Viper trying to get away. The Valkyrie forward, and JackeyLove shuts him down. Takes the double buffs as well. Critical couple kills there being grabbed by TES. It's a very even fight.
Critically, though, TES, I think, did trade up there in the end. Now built themselves a decent gold lead, as initially this looks dire. It looks like Hanwha is aware, but even with the cookies popping, I think Zeus hasn't gone for a back in quite a while.
Even with the cookies.
Still ends up dying. Flash, not enough to save. 369 extends the play. And then Kanavi does such a good job here because the damage is all coming from the Jhin. Kanavi able to get the E, then ensure that the fourth shot doesn't kill him. JackeyLove makes sure that the damage is there onto Peanut. Peanut tries to go in to get the kill. Knows the light doesn't have mana nor that much damage. And then Viper, not too sure about that one. Yes, you get the shutdown onto the Pantheon, but giving your sums as well as your life, and Jackie...
Peanut, no flash.
Oh,
they can't quite get in range. Are they going to be able to find Crisp? Does not connect with the Cosmic Binding, and now they're slowed up, and here comes the Nature's Grasp. Kanavi going to block it, but there's the root onto multiple members. The Bard ulti going to buy some time here for Kanavi. Can they actually try to turn this around? Viper knocking him down. He's going to be dead already, and in comes Creme, but Zeka on the side is going to push them back. The magical journey going to have to be taken to safety, but it's the one kill, and it's the Grubs going the way of HLE.
And where's the counterplay? That's the combo. We talked about the Jhin Maokai. What about Blitz Maokai? This giant root comes towards you. Even Kanavi, who is one of the members that I think is actually the best time when it comes to surviving that, given that he has his E, just has to sit there and suffer as he gets taken out. Gold now equalized again. TES still with a slight lead. A lot of that still on Kanavi. Obviously has been bloodthirsty on this Pantheon, but look right here. Someone has to walk up. And Kanavi is the best target. The ult from Chris doesn't really hit the mark. Ideally, you'd either be able to get onto Viper, take away the source of damage, or hit only the light so that Kanavi can walk it off, but instead just allows Hanwha Life to further set up.
Yeah, it just did not work out for them, and that was the E. That is that safety you talked about. So kind of just expired during the Tempered Fade, and then he did not have a lot of safety. They're able to give that kill over to Viper, who now has 3 early kills. Zeus, though, is struggling a little bit here with 369. 369 has been playing it out very, very well, but has never really been able to get that kind of knockout punch. He's chipping him down, he's poking him out, but 369 has not been able to get a kill, never really been able to extend that lead. But it is going to be that bait, as you're talking about. HLE are here setting up. Viper is moving down. They have the knowledge, and Delight is going to get a hook. Nice sidestep there from 369. That was critical. Jackie in the area. Has to be respectful, though, because you could get caught out here. Instead, they're going to use the Pantheon ult, get in on that back line. If 3 aren't doing it, let's bring 4. It's the Pantheon ult for the Gromp. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Now they can look for the hook. Delight trying to fish. Kanavi trying to find a way back. Will be able to walk it out. 4 members versus 4, fighting over this bot lane tower. They're going to turn off the tower. Oh, the hook is going to get immune as well by that Bard ulti. Kanavi going back in. JackeyLove free-firing. Peanut barely survives. Zeus trying to go forward here. 369 in a lot of trouble, and he's going to get knocked down by Viper. HLE ride the razor's edge and survive.
And the first movie ended up going well for TES. The sequel, not so much. It's the same play. It's a 4v4 towards the bot side, but last time, Zeus was slow.
We don't succeed. Try again. Zeus bound into the wall, but they don't quite have the damage to actually take him down. Kanavi gonna get hit by that deadly flourish. Frustrating for TES that Peanut limps out with no health. Zeus low, Delight low, Peanut low, but no rewards to be had.
Yeah, I feel like the opposite lesson is the case here. So if it doesn't work the first time, maybe just cut your losses and run away.
That's not the LPL way.
As Gold now even, but that play, unlike the last one where it felt like there was actually a great angle, because Hanwha Life wasn't quite as aware and the position of the individual members was way worse, but the ult doesn't really take away that much meaningful damage. And then you are just underneath the turret against Maokai.
Yeah.
Jhin's unthreatened. And Hanwha Life say thank you very much. And meanwhile, as we look towards particularly that Vladimir, once he starts joining fights, it's going to be a problem.
It really is. You know, I do think we're going to have to see TES really use their globals to their advantage. You have to use the extra teleport. You know, try to find fights where you're forcing Vladimir to answer and then you're TPing away. You're getting odd number of fights. We'll see if they can do it. And I mean, the retry on that dive was kind of foiled when JackeyLove was the second one to take turret aggro. And as soon as it goes on him, they don't really have the damage to actually knock down these members. Zeka, you can see 69 gold in his advantage as we check out the lane economy snapshot by MasterCard. Kanavi in a pretty good spot here, but we have a very even game 15 minutes in. It kind of feels like it's been the name of the series up until the first major team fight where HLE just always seem to land that haymaker.
TES, they're going to have to change that as Viper. 369, he's looking.
369 is looking. Public Execution is going to connect on Viper, and they turned off the tower. He's chasing in. Viper cleanses, but can Viper survive? The silence isn't going to be enough. 369 can't get him. Peanut peels, and Jackie's under the tower. You don't want to be there. He's going to get knocked out. The magical journey coming through. Zeka trying to get around. It is 2 for 2. Jackie get caught in a bad spot. Kanavi trying to look for this fight here. Does try to time it out with the empowered Q, but at the same time, it's Zeus in the bot lane, unanswered, collecting the rewards. He goes for the towers while the rest of his team holds strong in mid.
And unfortunately for TES, even though the trade is even, it's not quite as clean as you'd like because they don't get Viper immediately. They get to extend the play. Initially, this looks great. The light and the turret get taken out, but Viper with the flash cleanse actually live for so much longer, allowing Peanut to join. And again, this alone, the fact that Creme is able to pick up the kill there, I think is huge. Gets the shutdown of Viper. But while that was happening, there's a Jax just unanswered inside. As we do get out of the replay, though, TES was able to, I assume, use the tempo from that, as Zeus had to back. The rest of Hanwha wasn't in a position to follow up to get themselves access to that Herald.
Yep, nicely done by them. I gotta say, just every time when you watch the details in these team fights from HLE, the peel is so damn good. You know, Peanut comes in, peels the Ambessa, and Delight is just locked on target on JackeyLove. You know, he's knocking him up, he's silencing them, he's slowing them down as best as he possibly can to force the extra commitment in onto Viper. Without those peels, he just dies immediately, and the fight can look really different for TES. They are feeling the pressure here, knowing that Jax and Vladimir are scaling to infinity. The longer this game goes, the tougher it is going to be to answer it. You know, 369, the scoreline, I don't think is really kind of representing how well he's played in the 1v1. But you just always know you're on a clock in these kind of matchups. Jax puts pretty much everyone on a clock.
We haven't even talked about the fact that this is one of the games where I think Camtech actually going to get a good amount of value for either team, right? Either an Ambessa that's able to just weave in and out of the fight, sustain up a ton, or a Vladimir with extra heal and shielding power.
I mean, all these brawlers, right? You know, it's like these fights that aren't always over in an instant. Maybe the ADs aren't going to get a lot of value from it, but the Maokai, the Jax, the Ambessa, the Pantheon.
That's really the main theme, right? ADs have it rough.
It is. Well, Viper hasn't had it so rough this series, I will say. Looks pretty fun to play AD carry when you're on HLE, as whole squad always there to cover, always feeling like they're the ones on the front foot, starting these fights off. But TES looking for a trade up on top side. They still have the Herald in pocket. They're going to hold on, knock down the tier 1 without using it, and likely try to use that, you know, maybe in the next couple of minutes here, potentially around mid lane to try to crack that tower as well.
Yeah, only giving up a single dragon, completely fine. It's only the second dragon. If it was Soul Point, I'd feel a little more conflicted about it, but instead, you get a great cost map trade, put a good amount of gold in the pockets, and looking at the the item finishes, we're getting pretty close on second item finishes across the board. All components are starting to come through. Transformation for JackeyLove is going to be such a big spike for that Corki.
Yeah, Zeka caught out a little bit here, but we'll be able to just pop the pool and walk back. There's not enough extra members from TES to really commit to that sort of a play. Zeus was on the top side, pushing that out as he's just trying to get control of that wave. And his 369 down in bot lane, trying to force someone to answer. Wants to push this wave, but he's got no control over that bot side, and this is risky. If he stays too long, definitely could get collapsed on. Playing with fire a little bit with very little vision, but now as they went into that pit, I do believe he got eyes on them before that control ward was dropped.
Well, now for TES, as we have seen this type of situation before in this series, it's about actually winning the fight. And I think for them, ideally, you don't take a fight. You find someone isolated and blow them up, right? We've already seen that they have an incredible amount of dive power, even when there are a lot of members of Hanwha Live. I just think ideally, you try to find someone that isn't so safe. And we have seen a ton of vision set up towards the top side of the map. If you can land a Bartle, if Kanavi can just join a fight before they're ready.
Zeka spotted here. Kanavi going to just drive this one in. It is everyone coming mid to answer for this. You can see Zeus moving down. Tower chunk low, but not killed off just yet. Zeka looking for the chunk here. Jackie down to about half HP. Bartle's into the backline. In comes Aurora, but Zeus is here as well. And TES feels like they've got to run. Public Execution is going to connect on no one as 369 was hooking to the tower, and Zeus is pushing forward. It's Viper that gets the first kill. Kanavi going back in. Zeus in trouble, flashing out to safety though. And in comes the Jhin ulti. Creme getting slowed down. Crisp in trouble. The rest of the team just has to run as HLE again get away with murder. Zeus cannot be felled.
And it's TES that sets up the play. Again, trying to find something there. Ignore the turret. Doesn't look that bad initially, but it's when 369 gets hooked and crucially doesn't find the exit ult. That's the big thing. Otherwise, I think this fight might have looked a lot better. But trying to play into a Maokai and a Blitz, you've got to be very respectful. A lot of poke comes through. Good amount of burst. Jhin is taken out of the fight.
Oh, look in the picture-in-picture. Zeus potentially going to get caught out here. Creme is chasing with Kanavi. Will they commit to it? There's the flash forward from Kanavi. Throws down the stun. The counter-strike going to be used. Zeus connects in onto Creme. Chris coming in as well. Peanut there trying to bail him out. Will Zeus be able to make it to safety? He uses the magical journey, but it's right back into Chris. The counter-strike's back up. Finally does get taken out. Creme gets an important kill. As 369 is unanswered on bot side, he's going to be pushing up. Look at the minimap. There's like 6 flowers down around that bot lane tower. That is just the TES graveyard. We'll see if someone can get down to pick the roses.
Big pick there for TES. Exactly what we're talking about, right? It's Kanavi and Chris finding someone in the side lane together. Zeus getting punished for his transgressions. You see Hanwha Life are considering going in. Maybe we can get something done there. But the moment that they see that Crisp is there as well, know that the play isn't salvageable. Peanut backs up, says, good luck, buddy.
Get this as well. So 369 going to be pretty happy about this run of play. Grabs a couple flowers. They're going to start the Otacon as well. They really want to put the pressure on. They saw Zeka on the top side. He had no teleport. Yep. They're trying to punish the lack of a global. Can they rush it down? We do see there's no teleport on Zeus as well. So it's a 3v5 for now. Can HLE buy the time? Peanut is trying to fish. They're taking some damage here from Otacon, though. They're getting hit by the spins as JackeyLove getting low. Bartle T thrown to the backline, but it doesn't actually connect. They do get the rune as Otacon, but can they get the reward after Zeka is here, Zeus is here, and that spells trouble. Viper opens up, and it's TES on the run. It's HLE taking the rewards. He follows through, but Zeus is in trouble. Viper trying to survive here, trying to get it back in. Kanavi gonna get knocked down. Creme on the run now with JackeyLove. Christmas here too, trying to get out, but they get nothing but the initial kill. The rewards are all gonna be taken from HLE. Yes, they got the kill, but they didn't get anything after it.
Otacon just makes you so insanely squishy. And on the bed of flowers, Hanwha Life, they're going to lose the main buff, but I think they're still not going to be too sad. That could have been way worse, as we do see Peanut able to get his ult off the Bard ult, not quite hitting the mark. And 369, you see how much squishier he is.
Living there, man. How frustrating is that?
Not only that, but I think that could have gone a lot worse. The Bard actually having big value there. The Jhin ultimate, if there isn't a magical journey on the team, would have probably been a wipe.
Yep.
Zeka arrives just in the nick of time. I think could have even played that more aggressive with his flash up as well, but didn't want to risk it.
You do have to say, though, you know, the commitment on zoning Peanut out, I feel like they had a misread on when the fight was actually going to happen, because these Bartle and Aurora ult both missed on him and didn't even really keep him out. Like, yeah, you got the smite secure, but now you're down 2 of your most important team fighting ultimates. Zeka and Zeus arrive, and then what are your answers? And the answer really just felt like it was only to run, and now they're on the dragon here, looking to move in towards Seoul Point, try to grab that third dragon. TES have eyes on it, but can they even find a way in? Delight is on the side. They're going to throw the Pantheon all down, but he's going to get hooked onto Kanavi. Great shield there, but Zeka's in the backline, putting pressure here onto JackeyLove. Zeka's incredibly low. Can Zeus get in there? The counter-strike's going to be hot from Zeus, and Zeus is trying to get down JackeyLove, but JackeyLove falcons to safety. Zeka is low. Creme's trying to knock him down, but he can't finish him off. In goes JackeyLove. He's going to get hit by the Deadly Flourish, and now comes the Jhin ulti. Creme tanking the shots up. Delight looking for the hook, can't quite find it. The force shot going to do some serious damage to Creme, but it's not enough to kill him. And at the end of the day, it's HLE walking away with the dragon. They get an extra kill over on TES's side, but still, that is Seoul Point now for HLE.
Seoul Point found. Oh, the mid lane turret, that would be a big win for TES, but just Jackie's auto, not going to be enough. And it is the continued struggle, really, of Zeus. There is Kanavi, starts up the fight, and Viper specifically has to play so respectful here. And even though Zeka gets some decent ult, there isn't really any follow-up damage. The amplification doesn't quite do as much as they'd like. And again, Viper being zoned is such a big deal. He's one of the most fed members on Hanwha Life, and TES do an amazing job of keeping him out. And again, by the time the Jhin ult comes through, fight's basically already over. 2-for-1 trade. That's nice for TES, but that Seoul Point is going to be the big thing.
Really, a lot of credit deserved, I think, by Jackie, 369, and Chris for how they played around the Soul laners here. Zeka goes in, he gets chunked out, has to go back, and then really, Zeus had to go in to try to bail out his mid laner. He had to try to actually provide that covering fire for him.
Look at that.
He goes forward, and then they're able to really kind of kite him back and forth, not allow him to get big value on the counter-strike. They get that kill. And they are not going out without a fight here. This game, very, very close. The closest, I think, of all of them that we've had. We're 25 minutes in. It is the lead for TES, but we know how frail those can be. Delight looking for Jackie. Won't have the range to find him. And the missing extra teleport feels like it is, having some effect on this game. 369 again, still hasn't been able to get on the board. Neither top laner really has, but I do think he's performing very well in this series, and I gotta give him credit for being able to step up after what has been a pretty rough tournament. You're going up against Zeus, undisputed best top laner in the world, and just no one feels like they can go toe-to-toe with this guy, but 369 definitely giving it his best effort.
As we have another possible fight to the death about this buff.
They hook in the red, and are going to be able to smite secure it. Nicely done by Delight.
I was promised blood. I'm a little disappointed.
Well, I mean, if you're the parents of that red buff, you might be feeling like there wasn't blood, Red buffs matter too.
I've never really considered this, and I prefer to keep doing that. I'm a very sensitive man. I was like, I don't want to get into all that.
Fair enough. We won't delve too deep. Danger lies ahead.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can't jungle anymore.
I'm a jungler as well. Why would you do this to me?
It's okay. You can play Ivern.
That's true.
Yeah.
He is a friend of the forest. There's a free item spikes now here for both Jackie and Viper. IE, and that Executioners, respectively. Executioners obviously going to be a lot of value. And we're getting to the point where if any member on either team, either through a Hook of Delight or a great ult from Kanavi, 369, getting an ult into the enemy backline, someone's going to get taken down. That's going to be Baron on the cards.
I mean, you can see, all of the emphasis on actually shutting down the CC as well that HLE has. We have triple Merc Treads topside. We had the Mikhail's Rush as well from Crisp, which I think has already been paying dividends. It is so much of that engaged coming through from someone like Zeus or Peanut. Creme, really doing well, I have to say, in this matchup. I did think that he was going to start to struggle a lot more as we entered this kind of phase of the game, but he's been able to stay ahead enough to keep that pressure on Zeka. And does have 9 stacks on that Dark Seal. Working in towards the zone, he's now sitting on Seekers.
Also, it feels to me like Zeka doesn't look nearly as comfortable on the Vladimir as Zeus did, right? As obviously they really rate the pick, but I think Zeus, particularly when you have the opportunity to go for like these really big flash E's when you have your ult on opponents.
It's like you're the little brother and you're trying your best, but the big brother just always does it better.
Yeah, which
come home with an A and Zeus comes home with an A+.
Well, it's so funny because Zeka is, a giant.
Yeah.
But in this game, I do think that's kind of how it feels. The Vlad hasn't quite had the same impact. And then on the flip side, Creme actually having the impact on Aurora that I think many of us wanted to see. The first couple of games of First Stand, I don't think it was quite, but this time around, he is a big threat to the enemy backline, and that is a 9-stack Dark Seal that might very well be turned into a Magi's if one more fight goes the way of TES, and this feels the most stable that they have been in this series, and outside of the one series that they won, perhaps throughout the entirety of First Stand.
I mean, it's kind of a very LPL-style draft, too, where it is very execution-heavy, it's very skirmish-heavy. They have a lot of ways to start fights, a lot of ways to win fights. This is kind of that bread and butter. Zeus, though, level 16 now, a full level lead over 369 at this point. Does have his 2 items completed and working in towards the Zhonya's for that team fight presence. Zhonya is so powerful as a team fight item for the Jacks because you can get in the back line, pop your cooldowns, go into the stasis, and then that buys you time for that second round of spells to come back up. TES, though, this is really important here. HLE, remember, they are on Soul Point. They grab this. That is going to be their soul, and Peanut's moving forward. They're going to try to target Peanut. Peanut could be in some trouble here. He's going to get stunned up, but in goes Zeka to the backline, and it's a 4-man Hemo Plague. Zeka chasing after JackeyLove. JackeyLove surviving for now, but he's incredibly low. On the other side, it's 369 looking for Viper, but it's Peanut trying to take down JackeyLove. JackeyLove surviving for now, but Zeus with the flash, the counter-strike, the kill on the backline. He's looking for Kanavi, and he's going to get him. 369 limps away. HLE gets the soul. HLE gets the fight.
And Zeka looks like he was just biding his time. TES seemingly caught off guard by a, 4-man ultimate, the Hemo Plague, doing incredible amounts of damage. And they don't even end up needing Zeus' arm guard. As we take another look here, engaging onto a Maokai is always going to be so hard.
Look at that.
As the Giga Cone throws Zeka into them, and you can see TES instead the magical journey through the wall to just try and get out of at least that ultimate from the Jhin. At least get away.
Trash.
And then on the backline, once Zeus arrives, the fight is already looking good. Yes, 369 is able to get Viper, but that is a small solace as the Infernal Soul as well, or sorry, the Chemtech Soul with an immediate follow-up of the Red Bull Baron power play that now is going to come through here. And Hanwha Life turned what was a 3k gold deficit into a 1K gold lead, and there's going to be more turns to follow.
It's the story of the series. You know, TES can scrap in the early game, and this time they kept it close for a very long time. But these 5v5s, HLE find the angle. They never hesitate. You can see the goal difference powered by AWS just falling off a cliff there. It was in the favor of TES, you know, nearly a 3,000 gold lead at one point. And now, you know, you are 1K in the lead for HLE, but more importantly, Baron buff and Seoul is 6,000 gold worth of stats that isn't showing on the scoreboard. And it's going to make it so hard to win out in these extended fights. Oh, they're looking. Public Execution connects onto Zeka, but the pool is in time. Kanavi couldn't find the stun. Great sidestep as well on the Tempered Fate. And here comes Zeus. He's into the back line again. Looking for the counter-strike. Jackie trying to kite out. It's going to be Kanavi knocked down by Viper. The 4-shot still available here. Creme trying to make it happen here, but he's on the run. Zeka has the cooldowns back up, and Viper chasing. Great sidestep, though, on the Deadly Flourish. Is going to mean Creme gets out, but at the end of the day, it's still Kanavi going down. It's still the towers falling, and it's still HLE getting closer and closer to the series sweep.
The damage is still done, even though it's only Kanavi that falls. They're not able to actually get down Zeka. It's what we talked about. The Vladimir is just so slippery, even with 369 hitting
Risky
the ultimate
play.
there. It is a risky play, and I think understandable. If Kanavi hits that W, if they're just a snap second earlier, he's 100-0. If that ultimate hits, might take both Jhin and Vlad out of the fight, but instead, Viper gets the setup. Zeka just gets to keep going for rotation after rotation. And the mid lane turret falls, and with that, I think the opportunities for a TES comeback in this, what looks to be the final game.
Yeah, I mean, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, so it is definitely tough. HLE just too good in these tight moments, able to always find those clutch sidesteps, find those split-second windows to really make it happen. Pushing up here on that bottom side, Creme going for the chunk. Deadly Flourish going to be hopped away from by Creme, does stay safe for now. It's up to the playmakers on TES to find a moment here. Can Chris find that key ultimate? Nature's Grasp gonna get popped here by Peanut, just buying some time. Kanavi gonna be hooked in. There's the Tempered Fate, buying a little bit more time, but Zeka's gonna go into the back line, pops the Hemoplague, is tanking the tower. Pool's gonna be popped, 369 arrives. Can they get something back here? It's Zeus, of course it's him, the Thunder God himself, raining terror onto the back line, jumping forward again. Is gonna pop the stages. Can he get taken out here by JackeyLove? Needs the timing to be right, and it is, but it just doesn't matter. HLE will not be stopped. It's a quadra for Viper on Jhin. They're marching on the Nexus. They're looking to put the finishing touches on what was an incredible series. It's LCK #1, first LPL #1, but at the end of the day, it is not even close. HLE will not be stopped, will not be slowed, will march towards the finals and an inevitable fight with K-Corp tomorrow.
As Delight flashes a Gen G logo, him and Peanut had a wonderful year on. The Gen G, they dispatched of them. And now TES dispatched by them as well. This third game felt in many ways like the closest one, but the break point inevitably was found. The team fighting from Hanwha Life just seemingly unmatched. And it's hard to imagine this team not just continuing it, particularly in these tense moments. There is just an always impending sense of doom as TES. This was supposed to be the finals, but it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't, not the tournament that TES wanted, not by a long shot. It's gonna be heartbreak for them, but on the other side, Isaiah celebrating with the support of the crowd here. Definitely a remarkable player, but HLE just have that it factor. They have that special something to be able to always come out on top, you know, with a monster series, especially the first two games, complete jungle gap. And really across the board, the team really did shine. I feel like there's nothing that exemplifies how the team fights were going better than how safe this man looked in most of the fights. When you compare most of the series, how JackeyLove looked versus how Viper looked, it was always Viper, you know, on the front foot. It's always Jackie trying to cut away, trying to run for his life, but not quite able to do it. HLE just know how to navigate these team fights, create space for their carries, put pressure in just the right ways on the back line. And when a fight isn't going their way, it always felt like they can limp out with just a couple hit points left.
Just a little bit of health. You know, just enough. And Hanwha Life, there's a reason this team is so tough to take down. Even if you look at this series alone, it felt like everyone had some crazy performances. Zeus arguably the worst out of everyone.
369 looked good.
Which is, I think 369 looked good, but that second game from Peanut and from Zeka, right? The amount of damage that they were able to do there. Then even Viper in this final, like, it didn't feel like it was about him. I think he ended 13-2.
The quietest 13 kills I think I've ever seen. I mean, they are just looking incredible, but let's send it back to the analysts for first stand cooldown.